Am I the a-hole for being truthful about why I want to move in with my dad? My mom and stepdad are foster parents, but living with foster kids is kind of awful. Nothing against them, and I really hope they're getting the help they need, but it sucks. I was forced into the tiny room, which is fine, but I also can't leave my room. I can't play music or video games. I always have to let them pick movies and TV shows. I feel like a prisoner in my own home, and I can speak up about it because then I'm being ungrateful. I know it's nowhere near what most kids experience, but I still hate it. For months, I've been begging my dad to let me move in with him. I spend all my time there, and it would just make more sense. Logically, I know I'll never be able to. He's working 70 hours a week living in a one-bedroom apartment, but it's fun to pretend. My mom and stepdad don't seem to understand where I'm coming from. I should be grateful. I have clean clothes on my back and food in my stomach. Whenever I try to explain, they never listen and point out how much better I have it. Anyway, I was talking to my cousin on Monday and mentioned staying with my dad this weekend. She asked why, and I explained that I just don't like being at home. She asked why, and if that's why I want to move in with my dad, and I said yes and explained how I felt. She eventually went home and told her mom, I guess. Yesterday, my aunt pulled up and basically demanded to know what was going on. I don't know what exactly happened, but they got into an argument and my cousin came up to help me pack some clothes for a few days. When we went down, my parents accused me of making things up, saying that I had no need to feel the way I do. My aunt didn't really give me a chance to reply before we left. I went home today to grab some stuff, and they called me selfish, saying I'd created an aggressive atmosphere which wasn't good for the foster kids. So I said, I don't care about the foster kids right now. Why do they matter more than me? My stepdad told me to get out, so I did. A whole bunch of family has blocked me in socials, and my foster sister has been posting about how I'm selfish and only care about my own feelings. My dad is now clued in, and he and my aunt are both saying that I'm not in the wrong for feeling the way I do. But no one else seems to agree. So am I the a-hole? Edit. A few people have mentioned some things I should add. I'm 14, and my mom and stepdad are currently fostering 2 sibling sets. One set of 3 girls and another set of 2 girls and 4 boys. Totaling 9 foster kids. And 3 of the kids are diagnosed with autism, as some people have asked about that. No, they don't make any profit. They do love their kids and fully intend on adopting them all. They're amazing parents. Just not to me. And no, I will not be calling their social worker or whatever. I'm not doing that to my foster siblings. I'm hoping to convince my mom that me moving out will be better because it creates more room for any emergency fosters or something. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They should be fostering if it's at the expense of another child, and regardless, you're entitled to your feelings. I understand that they're helping, but it kinda sucks. My brother and sister-in-law have fostered 4 kids at different times, but they already have 4 kids. They had to adapt, obviously, but they understood that their children were their children, that their voices were always heard, babysitting, hanging out with, etc. And it's been a very constructive atmosphere, because they also made a time to be with their own children individually at different times, so that they don't feel like a spare or something like that. Your feelings are completely valid, and your mom and stepdad are a-holes for dismissing your emotions and thoughts so openly. Do whatever you need to do to be healthy, Opie. Not an a-hole. Your feelings are valid, and they don't stop being valid just because other people might have it worse. That is a really unhealthy mindset. You deserve to feel safe, happy, and comfortable at home. If you don't experience that living at your mother's house, there's no shame in trying other living arrangements. Sometimes just have to do what's right for you. I'm kinda stuck here, but thank you. Please call the social services agency that placed the fosters with your mom and stepdad and tell them all of this. They're essentially making you a prisoner in your own home, not allowing you to do standard teenage activities, not listening to your needs or wants, and disregarding your feelings. Not the a-hole. Have you ever had the opportunity to speak to the social worker that connects with your parents? Because you should have been interviewed about your comfort level with this. You need to contact a DHS and tell them that your parents are doing foster care, and your stepdad told you to get out because you complained to your cousin about feeling uncomfortable in your own home. This is a huge red flag. Edit. Opie mentions in an edit that his mother and stepfather currently have 9 foster children in their home. That is unusual, as most states limit the maximum number of minor children in the home to 6. And given that several of those children are special needs, it is definitely a red flag. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for bringing my daughter to a water park with a friend instead of her stepsister, my ex's stepdaughter? I took my daughter 12 to a water park with her best friend last weekend. I'd planned ahead with the parents and we stayed a couple of nights. This was our first time going anywhere in 3 years, and it was the first time she got to take someone with us. But given the way things have been in the last year and how good she did at keeping up in school, I wanted to reward her. The trip came up while my daughter was with me. She goes to her dad every other week. He's married and has a stepdaughter the same age as my daughter and 2 stepsons who are 6. My daughter and her stepsister aren't close, and it bothers the hell out of my ex. He has tried to sue for more time just so they are forced to be around each other more. And my ex is always asking for more time with our daughter so she can bond better with her stepmom and step-siblings. I always say no because I never take his time with her from him or her, so he doesn't get to do it to us either. He has always asked where I can include his step-kids, and I'll be honest, I don't. For 2 reasons. I normally don't bring other kids, and because my daughter has always asked not to be forced to bring them. Her dad has brought it up around her. She said her dad suffocates her with them, and she's tired of him always trying to make them close when they just don't feel it. So when he found out her friend came with us to the water park, he was furious. What made it worse was his stepdaughter was in the car when we were doing the exchange, and she saw my daughter's friend's t-shirt that she bought there and realized where we'd gone. Apparently, she has dreamed of going for years, but never got to. Ex told me I should have made her take stepsister over a friend, and his wife called and told me I didn't need to flaunt it in front of her daughter. I said I never flaunted it, but I wasn't going to make my daughter's friend hide either. They gave my daughter hell for it while she was at her dad's. It makes me question if I'm the a-hole for not including her stepsister in this. You're definitely not the a-hole. Your ex is. It's so weird that he expects you to treat his new wife's child as family. You should encourage a friendship, yes, and be kind to her. But you owe them nothing. It's his responsibility, not yours. Especially when you're footing the bill. And it's more fun for your daughter to get to take a friend too. It is also really important to point out that even blood siblings shouldn't be forced to go to every event and share everything all the time. It breeds resentment, and there's literally no benefit to anyone when parents do it. You will find Reddit riddled with posts about siblings and step-siblings being forced to do everything together, and it breaks my heart. Not the a-hole. If the father wants the 2 girls to go to a water park together, then he and his wife can take them. And bullying your daughter over it is appalling. If nothing else, it will ensure that the 2 girls never become friends. Worse, it will probably ruin any relationship she might hope to have with her father in the future. It sounds like they want to go so that they can pressure them into spending more time together. They didn't want to go to the water park. They wanted another opportunity for them to bond. Want to add, the parents might even want to dump the kids in OP while they go on all the slides in Lazy River so they can get a break from the kids. Absolutely not, a-hole. He is alienating his own daughter for his step-kids. Guess he's gonna pick mom when she's old enough. Bingo. That is setting the stage for low contact or no contact in the future. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister her kids and step-kids aren't really mad at each other but mad at her and her husband? My sister has 2 kids. Her son is 11 and her daughter is 9. She has 3 step-kids. Her stepson is 10, stepdaughters are 9 and 7. They got married 3 years ago. And honestly, my sister and her husband messed it up pretty badly. They were long-distance dating for 4 years and lived 2,500 miles from each other. So they decided to wait for any big moves until they were getting married. 1 month before the day came, he moved in with my sister and her kids. None of the kids had met each other or their future step-parent. The day they moved in happened, it became very clear that the kids were not once super excited to go through the change and super happy for more people, regardless of how much their parents wanted it for them. My nephew and niece have told me they resent the hell out of my sister and her husband for what they did. My nephew told me he hates his mom for moving her husband and step-kids in all at once, and never giving them the opportunity to know the people or feel how they felt before it was a done deal. He even said, what if they had been jerks to them? There was no going back so close to the wedding. The kids fight each other a lot and generally don't get along. All have resisted bonding with their respective step-parent too. My sister and her husband think the kids hate each other. And especially lately it has come up a lot because the kids don't even mention having step-siblings or step-parents new people. It bothers my sister, and she has come to me several times with her frustrations but never wanting advice. Finally, the other day, she was doing the same over and over and over again because she found out her daughter had made it seem that it was just the three of them still to one of her friend's parents, and the parents seemed shocked there was a step-family involved. And she said she doesn't get why the kids hate each other so much. And it was getting hard to listen to her talk about it, especially when I had asked her to stop on more than one occasion and had cut her off before. So I decided to tell her that the kids don't actually hate each other. They're not mad at each other. They're mad at her and her husband. She was stunned and said they had no reason to be mad at them, that it must be the kids. Well, she found out by asking her kids directly that I was right, and now she's pissed. She said I had no right to interfere and judge her and make it sound like her kids hated her. Our parents told me I should have said nothing like she always wanted, but at some point, the truth had to be brought up, right? Or should I have stayed quiet? Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You told her the truth. Poor kids. If OP's sister and her husband had spoken to any type of professional counselor, therapist, or child psychologist, psychiatrist, oh, I don't know, hell, even a pediatrician, they would have been told that the way they handled this is absolutely wrong. It was pretty much guaranteed to set these poor kids up for failure. OP, you were not an a-hole at all. Your sister and her husband, though, wow, huge a-holes. Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. She needed someone to tell her, and you voiced what you observed. She's just mad because she and her husband screwed up by not introducing their new prospective family members to each other organically. I know distance played a role, but they couldn't organize any hangout time prior to the wedding? They could have tried, and ideally that's what people would do, but they never did. Those kids never laid eyes on those new people, nor did they ever say one word to them before they were all living together. Do the kids have to share rooms? That wouldn't help either. Unfortunately, they do. Last story. Am I the a-hole for favoring my daughter's room choice over my stepson's? I, 34 female, married my current husband, 41 male, 6 years ago. I have one daughter from a previous relationship, Annie, who is 16. My husband has a son from his previous marriage, Sean, who is 19. When my husband and I got married, we bought a 4-bedroom house. We took the master bedroom, leaving 3 of the children to decide between a larger one and 2 smaller ones that made up about the same square footage as the large one. We told the kids, Annie was 10, Sean was 13, that they had 2 options of how we could handle the bedrooms. 1, they could each take a small bedroom, and the large bedroom could be turned into a mutual hangout area for them to share. Or 2, one could take the larger bedroom and the other could have both smaller ones as their own. Sean, being a 13-year-old, wanted the large bedroom as his own. He and Annie decided that he'd take the larger one and should take the smaller ones. I did ask her many times if she was sure this is what she wanted, as she's quite shy, and I suspected Sean had more so told her than asked her. But she seemed content enough with it, and it didn't really make much difference to God what in the grand scheme of things. So that's how it was. Now, Annie has one of her rooms set up as her bedroom/hangout area, and the other set up as her closet/makeup area. She loves it and is happy with the setup. Sean, however, has just graduated high school and wants to switch bedrooms with Annie because he wants to turn one of the smaller rooms into a gaming/streaming room. I presume an idea he got from Annie because she makes makeup and fashion/fashion design/sewing videos in her studio, as she calls it. He asked Annie and Annie said no. He then asked me and I said ask Annie. He said he tried, but she was being unreasonable. I told him this is what they decided, and that I wasn't going to force her to change now. He then got my husband involved, and they're both angry with me, saying I'm favoring Annie because she's my own child and treating Sean worse because he's not. Which, I've known him for half of his life and helped raise him our entire marriage. So that stings a little, even if it is true. My husband thinks that since Sean is an adult, he deserves to have the extra space. But honestly, it isn't even extra space. It's just separated, and he likes how Annie did it. I just feel like it would be very unfair to Annie to make her switch. Annie and Sean have had a pretty decent relationship, but Sean has been getting increasingly more passive-aggressive with her since this has come up. Am I the a-hole for not making Annie switch? Edit. Just to clarify, Sean wants to give Annie the big room and take the 2 small rooms as his own, and Annie isn't interested in switching at all. Not the a-hole. Your stepson was kind of greedy and took the big room. Now he is jealous because your daughter made it cool. Sean does not get to whine and get his way now. He doesn't deserve any extra for now being an adult, especially when he's acting like a whiny child. Kinda greedy? He is greedy, and he's also a boy. But I'm guessing he gets it from his father since his daddy sided with him. Not the Opie, but you will be if you don't talk to your husband about backing off. Your daughter shouldn't be punished by having to switch rooms just to please her live-in tormentor. And your husband shouldn't be enabling your stepson's behavior. Otherwise, the horrible behavior towards your daughter will just get worse. Not the a-hole. Sean seems to think it's unfair when he doesn't get what he wants. He's a 19-year-old brat whose a-hole father is enabling him. Now he's harassing his sister? Annie might need a lock for her makeup/clothes room. I'm not sure why a minor with 2 more years to go until she can move out is being expected to give up her space to an adult. Does Sean intend to live at home for the next few years? If so, Sean and his dad should put up a wall in Sean's room. Or it might be time for Sean to move out. He can do whatever he wants in his own apartment after all. You would be the a-hole if you give in to Sean's demands. He is trying to strong-arm you into getting his way, just like he probably strong-armed Annie to take the small rooms when the original offer was put out. He sounds very entitled. Not the a-hole. It's also worrying that an adult man is being passive-aggressive to a teenage girl because he didn't get his way. If this is any indication of how he treats women, he needs to be schooled now. He made his choice a few years ago, and now she said no. He needs to accept that without any manipulative behavior. Yep, I'm in no way suggesting kicking him out, but at 19, they should be discussing his path to independence and what his future looks like, not allowing him to get ever more cozy at home, especially at the expense of their daughter. In addition, I think in accusing Opie of favoring her daughter, the husband has actually revealed his own feelings, which are that he doesn't view daughter as his own and thinks his son should be prioritized. He doesn't view daughter as his own. This is a very good point that I had not really thought of.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my parents out financially because they only help my siblings and never me? I'm 30 male, the oldest of 5, and my siblings are 28 female, 27 male, 25 male, and 23 female. Our parents were always generous with giving money when asked, except when it came to me. I was told I should learn to work hard. I was told I didn't need a new video game or toy. I was told earning money was the only way I'd ever have money, and I hadn't earned money from them. But my siblings could get whatever they wanted. When I first graduated college, I ended up struggling financially because the area where I worked had such high apartment costs. I asked my parents if they could help me out, and they said no. I ended up staying in a shelter for a few weeks, and then rented a dump of an apartment with a friend who was in the same situation. They not only helped my siblings through college, which they didn't do for me, but they gave each of them lump sums after they graduated to help them get started in life. They also helped them out financially whenever they asked, especially during the COVID years. They didn't offer any money to help with mine and my wife's wedding. We didn't ask, but it stood out even more when my sister, 28 female, got engaged, and our parents mentioned they were setting aside money for all the weddings. Again, it was all the weddings except for mine. Now all this has caught up with them, and they are in a very tight financial spot, and they're asking me for money too. They told me they need mine and my wife's help, and that we should do it, because they've been so generous and never said no to any of us. I told them they never helped me with anything, that they preferred to see me homeless, rather than help me out. They argued back claiming that never happened, and I could have asked if things were that bad. I showed them screenshots of texts where I had brought up the topic after asking them verbally. My parents dismissed it and told me they're still my parents. And since I'm the most financially settled, I could afford to help them. I admitted that I could, but I didn't feel they had earned it. My parents called me spiteful and said I should help them rather than let them lose everything. I told them to ask the kids they actually helped. My siblings were also mad that I said no. They told me mom and dad don't deserve my pettiness. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I told them they never helped me with anything, that they preferred to see me homeless rather than help me out. They argued back, claiming that never happened and I could have asked if things were that bad. I showed them screenshots of texts where I had brought up the topic after asking them verbally. I'm puzzled by this. I wonder if you were also the family scapegoat. Whatever the reason, kudos to you for achieving what you have despite the hardship you went through. My siblings were also pissed I said no, told me mom and dad don't deserve my pettiness. It isn't pettiness though, is it? You're just declining to use the resources you earned through your own hard work. Your siblings can reciprocate for what your parents did for them. I want to add my congratulations for working through all of this dreadful parental behavior and getting your life together. And just to say, be careful. There's always going to be a part of you that wants their approval. And I think it's that part of you that might want to help them. Even if you gave them millions, it would be dismissed as lightly as they dismissed your homelessness. And they'd probably attribute it to their favorite child. You'll never get the approval or recognition. Have you considered going no contact? And probably a bit of therapy wouldn't hurt. Not the a-hole. You are the black sheep, expected to pick up the pieces for everybody else. But nothing is ever reciprocated or appreciated. My parents literally had me driving them around to help my sister find her second house, while I was homeless when my ex changed the locks in our co-owned home. They paid for her divorce attorney and wouldn't help me get winter clothes. They hung up on me when a mechanic ripped me off, even though they had 5 vehicles sitting in their driveway. The stress of my separation and divorce led to dozens of hospitalizations and ER visits. Not a call, visit, etc. Nothing. Then I got cursed out for not driving 2 hours to visit them when they were in the hospital. My mother has literally thrown hospital trays at me when I did visit. So, you can help, but it won't be appreciated or reciprocated. My parents were wealthy, so I didn't have that kind of pressure. But I totally get the one-sidedness problem you're facing. Why can't they get support from your siblings that they helped out? People who are used to taking are usually hard-pressed to give. Same thing happened to me and my mom. She put out her hard-earned money to buy cars, bikes to my spoiled little brother, only for him to claim the insurance money once the car totaled. Takers are also bottomless. There's only so much anyone can give, but takers can take forever. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving the dollhouse I built to my niece, but to my wife as a gift? It's not a dollhouse, but I didn't want anyone to think I was being misleading on purpose by saying I built a house. I, 28 male, made my wife, 28 female, a replica of a house that's known to fans of a musician but wouldn't mean much to others. It was about 2 feet tall and wasn't very complicated to build. But my wife had said a few times over the last year that she thought it would be cool to have 4 little trinkets. She's like a crow with her trinkets. I love it. She didn't know I was making it for her, but I sneakily involved her in its creation by having her make a couple of TikToks when we were out together so I could get the colors right. She has no idea, lol. I was excited, so I showed a picture to my brother. He told me it was cool but didn't get the purpose. He showed it to my step-niece, Ava, 13 female, who knew what it was and said she wanted one too. My brother asked if I would give it to Ava for her birthday. I said no, it's for my wife, but I could make one with Ava. I would help teach her some basic woodworking skills, which they don't teach in schools anymore. I thought that would be a good compromise. My brother said if it was so easy, I could make a second one for my wife and just give this one to Ava since her birthday is at the end of the month. Again, I said no. This was done specifically for my wife. He seemed to accept that, but then came back and said, "Isn't it a little weird to make a dollhouse for an adult woman?" I told him it's not a dollhouse, just a fancy shelf. He argued that makes it worse. because Ava would actually play with it. He must have complained to our mom, he's the younger brother, because she called me to tell me it was stupid to give my wife a dollhouse. I tried to explain that it's not a dollhouse, but she kept saying that's stupid. This weekend, I was at their house and Ava kept bringing up the house, laying it on thick with statements like, I've always wanted one just like it. She kept asking why my wife wanted a dollhouse. I said it's not a dollhouse, but she kept pressing, asking why she needed a dollhouse. I told my brother he was encouraging his kid to be manipulative, and I really didn't like it, so I decided to leave. He told me I was dangling the house over her head like McDonald's and teasing her, and that it made me a bad uncle. Being a good uncle is important to me, and I do feel for the girl because she's a big fan too. I admit I might have a blind spot here because I don't have kids, and maybe I shouldn't have shared a picture with my brother to begin with. Am I really the a-hole for not just giving it to her? Yes, it was easy to make, and I could make another quickly. I'm guessing the dollhouse is a replica of the lover house. If it's anything like I'm imagining or what I've seen online, it is more like a fancy storage display for her Taylor Swift memorabilia, rather than a toy anyway. Not the a-hole in either case, Hopi. It's your creation that you get to give to whoever you want. Yeah, it's the lover house. Lol, I didn't know if I said that directly, if it was going to affect what people said, because of how weird people are about her. I think it's awesome present for your wife, and your brother is being an entitled jerk who's raising his stepdaughter to be an entitled jerk, not the a-hole. I wouldn't be surprised if your brother told Ava, of course you can have it. I'm a little worried that he did that and told her that. This whole thing of crying to mommy and her getting involved is really strange to me. It's really not her concern. I can't imagine getting in the middle of my son's disagreements. Did she baby younger brother? Oh yeah, he's the baby of the family and always will be. His mom's favorite because he was planned. Lol. Next story. Am I the a-hole for paying for one daughter's wedding? I, 45 female, am married to John, 50 male. We have 2 daughters. Hannah, 25 female, who we had together, and Alexa, 30 female, who is from John's previous relationship. Alexa, being the older child, always got everything new, while Hannah often got hand-me-downs. She rarely had things of her own, so I wanted to make her wedding special. Both of the girls are now engaged. I told Hannah I would pay for her wedding as I have been saving for it her whole life. Alexa asked John if he and her biological mom would be paying for her wedding, and he said no. She told her she should plan a wedding within the budget she and her fiancé can afford. Recently, the girls went to lunch together and Alexa found out I was paying for Hannah's wedding. Alexa called John crying, saying it was unfair that I was covering the costs of Hannah's wedding. John now thinks we should split the money evenly between the 2 girls. I told him no because I was the one who had been saving the money. I suggested that if he wanted to help Alexa with her wedding, she should speak to her mom and figure out how they could contribute. John then asked if I would be willing to give Alexa any leftover money after Hannah's wedding. I told him no, that I was giving Hannah the entire account, and she could spend the money as she wished. Edit. To answer some common questions, when I got pregnant with Hannah, John asked me to be a stay-at-home mom. During that time, John managed all the finances. This is why Hannah often had hand-me-downs. John said he wouldn't buy new things if we already had something that worked. I started working again when Hannah was 10. At that time, John and I agreed to split Alexa's costs with her mom, while I would take care of Hannah's expenses. During that conversation, I told John I would also be creating a savings account for Hannah. I mentioned that I hoped to save enough for either her wedding or a down payment on a house. After that, we didn't discuss it again as there was no need. Once I started working, our finances were kept separate. Alexa's mom had full custody, and we only had her every other weekend. During those weekends, John made all the parenting decisions for her. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. That is indeed a talk that should be between Alexa's parents. I think there is more to this story than we're getting. Hannah is John and Opie's daughter, but it sounds like John didn't know about the money being saved. It seems odd that he wouldn't have taken similar action or discussed this years ago. Certainly, he must have known that Opie was saving since Hannah's birth. John has realized what a bad parent has been by not providing for his daughter as you have for yours. Now he's trying to make it your problem. It's not. It's his and his ex. Give Hannah the money and don't be an a-hole to her. Not the a-hole. She has 2 parents to pay for her wedding. Your husband is just trying to look like a good guy to his daughter without having to spend any money on her. Stick to your guns. Sounds like your daughter deserves this win. Exactly. Clearly, when Opie communicated that she'd been saving for Hannah independently, John brushed it off. He likely thought, cool, whatever, and didn't give it a second thought. Hannah is lucky to have a parent to plan ahead. John's now trying to weasel money out of savings that was always intended for Hannah because he realizes how bad it looks that he didn't save for Alexa. Mini update. Hannah told her fiancé what had happened. Hannah's fiancé is an only child, and his parents said they would pay for half the wedding. I told Hannah the money is still hers, and she can use it for the other half and to use the leftover money towards a house. Her and her fiancé are very grateful. I told her that tomorrow I'd go talk to someone about getting the money in a trust of some kind in her name, since right now it's in a savings account with both of our names. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law my father-in-law doesn't owe her a house? When my husband and I got married, his parents, divorced but still best friends, bought us a house as a wedding gift. I think it's relevant to say that my husband and I have been together since high school, and his parents are good friends of my family. My father-in-law has been remarried since my husband Lee was in middle school, and his new wife, let's call her Patty, brought along a daughter Lee's age into the marriage. For simplicity, I'll call her Eli. Eli has always had an involved dad and doesn't have a father-daughter relationship with my father-in-law. Her dad is well off, but has 5 other kids, so is not able to be as generous as my father-in-law who has only Lee as his child. Eli's getting married in a month, and she came over unexpectedly yesterday to rant because she found out that father-in-law isn't getting her and her fiancée Dora a house for their wedding present. Lee and I listened to her and Dora's rant, but Lee got upset and had to excuse himself after Dora started insinuating that father-in-law might be homophobic. I told them plainly that they were being ungrateful because father-in-law is covering their 2-month-long honeymoon expenses and paying for a portion of their wedding. He only did a letter for Lee and me. I also added that father-in-law and mother-in-law paid for the house together, so it wasn't just him. And for the record, Patty didn't contribute whatsoever, despite being Lee's stepmom, but I guess that's not relevant here. Dora and Eli both got mad at me, claiming I was defending a bigot, and stormed out. Since then, I've been asked not to attend the wedding. Patty sided with Eli and is now not on good terms with father-in-law, who feels hurt and unappreciated despite his generous contributions. So am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she's not entitled to a house? Edit, I forgot to add that Eli and Dora have only been together for a year and a half. They decided to get engaged spontaneously at Patty's Thanksgiving dinner. Not the a-hole. Your father-in-law and mother-in-law paid for the house for you and their son, not your father-in-law's current wife. I have no idea of your current age, but I'm going to assume early to mid-20s. Correct me if I'm wrong. So father-in-law married his current wife when your husband and Eli were around 11 to 14 years old. Why does Eli think that he should buy them a house, pay for their 2-month honeymoon, and part of their wedding, when she doesn't see him as a parent, and her soon-to-be wife calls him a bigot? Why don't you and your husband invite his dad to stay with you for a while? His wife isn't on good terms with him because of her daughter, and is feeling used. Show him that this isn't the case. He needs to feel appreciated, and you and your husband are just the people to show him that he is. None of you did anything wrong, and he could use some real affection right now, instead of being seen as a walking bank account. Yes, I'm 26. Also, yes, I think I will. Lee loves his dad and is a great grandpa to our little one. I think it'll be fun. Thank you. I'll bring it up with Lee. I'm glad that I could suggest something helpful. I get extremely ticked off when people decide to label someone a bigot just because they aren't getting exactly what they want. He's already dropping tens of thousands of dollars on them for half their wedding and a 2-month honeymoon. He doesn't deserve to be treated so badly. Not the a-hole. But have you and your husband told father-in-law that his stepdaughter and her fiancé are going around calling him a bigot and homophobic? Because he should really know they're bad-mouthing him, even though he's paying money toward their wedding and honeymoon. This is probably our bad, but we haven't. He's a good, if not sensitive man. I think he'd be saddened to hear it. I can understand why you'd want to protect him, but if sister-in-law is going around and tarnishing his reputation by calling him a bigot, what's worse? Hurting his feelings or letting others believe those false accusations? Imagine if he goes to the wedding and over half the guests ignore or snub him because they listen to sister-in-law and her fiancé talk badly about him.